When I started training for races, I thought patience meant just waiting for race day. Then I became a dad and realized patience was a whole different endurance sport. Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast. Super excited to have you listening to today's show. Today, I'm going to be talking about what training has taught me about patience as a parent. Now, before I get into today's episode, I'd like to go over anything going on personally, anything that you may find interesting, fitness, nutrition, or just honestly anything going on in life. So, without further ado, diving into today's episode. So, getting back into running this week. If you tuned into last week's episode, I was dealing with a pretty bad sore throat. Wasn't enjoyable. There were a couple of nights that I believe it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. Woke up at night and could just my throat hurt so bad. It was as if someone was hitting the back of my throat with an ice pick. So was not an enjoyable experience. Decided to tone it down a little bit, not run as much last week. Went on a 3 mile run on Saturday. That might have been felt like it was running a marathon. But over the course of this week, I ended up running 5 miles on Monday, 6 miles on Tuesday. Was just starting to get back into it and feel a lot better overall. So I always find that when I'm coming back to running and working out from a sickness, I can't go full throttle. I have to ease my way back into it. That way, I know just mentally it's easier. It's physically just better for my body. So overall, feeling better this week. Actually running a 10-mile race this week. I wouldn't necessarily call it a race, but there's a memorial run for someone in our town that had passed away, and this gentleman had run, I believe it was over 20 Boston marathons, and it's a 10-mile run in my town, and I live in a pretty rural town in New York. So I thought it'd just be cool just to, I was planning on running 10 miles this week. Might as well just do it as part of an event, run with some additional folks, and see, maybe different routes that I could potentially be running into the future. So running that on Saturday. So super excited about that. Now, diving into today's episode, which is what training has taught me about patience as a parent. Now, what I want you to take away from today's episode is lessons on patience, whether that's going to the gym and strength training, or whether that's going out for a run, and then just being able to apply that at home. There's been instances where the patience has been wearing thin, and it's been in the gym, maybe I'm hitting a plateau, or maybe I'm injured and I'm trying to recover from it. I haven't done Bulgarian split squats in 2 months. I had done them prior to the half marathon that I had ran at the end of June. Went to do new Bulgarian split squats, and prior to that half marathon, and just didn't feel great on the quad. Just felt as though I was tearing it up, and ended up straining it a little bit. So just been a little bit leery, but ended up doing them this past week. Legs are on fire today. Did them yesterday. Not feeling great, and not feeling great in the sense of I can't do anything, just more soreness than anything else. So overcoming a little bit of an injury, hitting your plateau, whether that's bench press or deadlift or squat, and it can be frustrating when I go to the gym and I bench a certain weight this week and I go to do it the following week and I can't put it up. Like that's always frustrating. And then when you're dealing with a child at home, there's definitely times where they're going to be testing your patience all the time. We tell our daughter, no, don't do that, and then she'll go ahead and do it just to test our buttons and really push us. So I think there's that nice commonality between taking and testing your patience at the gym, running, and then also being a parent at the same time. Especially like right now, we're in the toddler phase. Our daughter she's 2, actually turned 2 years, 2 months today, and it's just been it's honestly amazing, but it definitely can test your patience at times. And again, it goes back to a little bit what I was talking before, where you tell her no, and she'll continue to push through and push through and push your buttons, and she knows you're to a certain degree. Obviously, she's not that old, but to a certain degree, she knows she's pushing your buttons just to see what you're gonna get out of it. Now, when it comes to patience, it really is more or less progress that's just going to be taking time. And the way I like to look at it is whether you're building endurance or your strength training, it's going to require years and or even I would say months, but typically years of training. So one example could be going through and tracking your training progress. So like for me, I have all the exercises I'm going to be doing in my phone. Then that way, when I go to the gym the following week, I'm trying to get one more rep or go up in weight and do the same amount of reps I done the prior week. And then similar to when you have a child, whether it's the first time that they talk or they walk or they learn something new, it's just all about making progress. And when it comes to our patience, it definitely encounters having to, work on the progress that we have. When it comes to patience, it's all about controlling what I can't control. When it comes to training, it's focusing on nutrition. What am I putting into my body on a weekly basis, on a daily basis? Yes, I want to enjoy myself. I don't mind having pizza from time to time, but am I eating that every night? Am I eating ice cream every night? That probably wouldn't be good for my health. Am I prioritizing my protein goals, healthy fruits, vegetables, non-processed foods? When it comes to workouts, am I showing up to the gym whether I feel like it or not? And am I making sure that I'm taking adequate recovery time and listening to my body? And then on the flip side, controlling what you can as a parent is controlling your reactions. It's you don't want to blow up your child. No one no one's I'm sure we've all been there one time or another where you're very stressed and your child's doing something and you yell at them and you spend the rest of the night the next week just feeling absolutely terrible about it. And for me, it's having to control the reactions. I would say control, but just be aware of my reactions and not necessarily being able to control my child's moods because obviously she's a toddler and sometimes she's happy, sometimes she's sad, sometimes she's wonderful to be around. Sometimes you get her out of her crib in the morning and she's screaming, crying, and you just knowing that I can just control my reaction to how she is behaving. Sometimes it's just nice to have reset strategies when it comes to both bad workouts and when it comes to these tough parenting moments that we have. So when it comes to these bad workouts, it's knowing like I'm gonna go to the gym next week and I'm gonna give it my all. And maybe this is just happens to be one instance. I can tell you, I assume anyone can tell you. Sometimes I go in the gym and I just don't I just don't feel it. I'm going through the motions. I'm getting the workout in, and the other times I'm like, oh, I'm absolutely crushing it in the gym. I'm feeling great, and there's always going to be these ebbs and flows when you're going out there, when you're working out, and you're just putting in that work. And then when it comes to these tough parenting moments, and for me, it came through a book that I read, I believe. Look at my bookshelf real quick, called The Five Types of Wealth. And the book really opened my eyes in the first 60 pages or so of the book that we have a finite amount of time with not only our loved ones, but also the children that we have. And knowing that theoretically until our daughter's about 13, we're her whole world. Knowing that at about age 13, maybe she starts at the rebel phase a little bit. She's a little bit more independent. She has friends. She's, not around as much. Obviously she's going to be living at our house, but it just makes me think that this is obviously a tough moment, what I'm dealing with right now, but it's not going to be lasting forever. And that I should actually be cherishing these moments that I'm encountering because we do have a finite amount of time. It feels like just the other day our daughter was born and here she is over 2 years, and it's like she's getting tall. She's understanding things a lot more. She actually walked out of the bathtub the other night on her own, which is not crawling over it. Literally just stepped out of it. And I was like, well, that's That's the first time that she's done that. So it's just realizing that even when we're in the thick of it, that there'll be another day that we're encountering right now is not going to last forever. I want you to understand that rest is not wasted. When it comes to training, rest days are essential for gains. And I find for me, I typically will take off Saturday, sometimes both of running and lifting, sometimes, or definitely always of lifting. I always take the Fridays, always take Saturday, Sunday off from lifting. That just works best for me. Sometimes on Saturdays, I'll be going out and going for a run. Now, when it comes to being a parent, it's having that downtime, whether that's for yourself or whether that's for your child, to just help recharge your patience. So, this could be something as spending a relaxing morning with our daughter, where instead of me go, maybe I would go to the gym. Maybe I get my run completed a little bit later. But I'm just spending that morning and relaxing with our daughter, and just realizing that maybe I'm not being productive in the sense of getting work done or physical activity, but I'm going to be able to spend time with my daughter, and there's nothing more I could cherish than that. At the end of the day, your mindset is going to be the anchor. Having a positive mindset is what helps you push through long runs and heavy lifts and keeps you calm during challenges that you may encounter as a parent. There's been so many times I've been on a run where I just want to stop, quit. Same thing at the gym. I just want to stop, quit. I don't want to do this anymore. But I know that when I push through this, when I come back to the gym, when I come back to running, one, I'm gonna feel guilty when I go home that I couldn't complete it. Unless I have a terrible injury and something really comes up, I'm gonna make sure I complete it. And I can't tell you how many times I just haven't felt like running. I haven't felt like lifting. But I go out there, I push myself to do it, and then I come home and then I feel just so much better that I did it. And it's encountering that resistance that we have. Take for Tuesday, for example, it's about 90 degrees here this week. And on Tuesdays, that's when I run hills. And I know in this particular, let's say, so mile one and a half is typically there's some shade. Mile one and a half to about, let's say about 3.5 miles. So about 2 miles just in the sun. I'm running up hills in a neighborhood. There's just no shade at all. I think at about a mile where I'm running through a little bit of shade, and then coming back through the last sort of, say, mile and a half, just direct in the sun. And again, it's 90 degrees out, and I'm in my mind, I know how I'm gonna feel after I do this run, and it's not gonna be great. I can take all the electrolytes, but it's just not. It's just super hot out. The sun's out. There's not a ton of shade, but I push myself through it. I come home and I just feel so much better knowing that I completed this super hard run. And again, it goes back to the parenting, which is just keeping that same mindset when you're encountering different challenges. This could be our daughter when she was about 6 months old. She went through this sleep regression stage where she stopped sleeping from about 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. every night. Now, I'm no expert, but I imagine those are good quality hours of when you want to be getting your sleep. So when we go down at 9, and we're up from 9 to 11, or we sleep from 9 to 11, my wife and I, and then we sleep from 4 to 6. Not the best sleep. You're not going to be feeling great overall. But just knowing that this might be a setback in this moment, but eventually our daughter's going to get back to sleep. Everything is going to go back to normal. And just knowing, like, yes, I'm encountering this right now, and it may seem like the worst thing in the world, but I'm not going to let it control my mindset. I'm just going to continue to push through it. And I know eventually there'll become a day where our daughter is now sleeping through the night again, which, as of right now, knock on wood, she has been. I want you to track your small wins when it comes to training and parenting. When it comes to training, that could be showing up to the gym every single week and going on your runs or getting in your mileage for the week. For parenting, for me, that's just making sure I'm fully present with my daughter. There's some days where I work a full day and I'm exhausted and I want to zone out and just relax, but to me, I'm our whole world right now. And it goes back to the time and when I was mentioning about the book that I was talking about, The Five Types of Wealth, where this is a finite amount of time I have with her at this age. So whether or not I'm tired, I'm gonna make sure that I show up for her. Schedule your recovery time in your week, not just for yourself, but also for your family. It's always super important to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And the last piece of advice I can really give you on today's episode is just practicing intentional breathing in moments of frustration, not just yelling, just taking a few breaths, breathe in 5 seconds, breathe out 5 seconds, breathe in 5 seconds, breathe out 5 seconds. And then at that point, you'll be good to go. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's episode on what training has taught me about patience as a parent. And I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss the power of showing up daily.